I think this season is the worst because United have literally had to support City this season to make sure that Liverpool didn't win the league, because Fergie, his whole time here, basically stopped Liverpool.
I want to talk about Man United because we've had one of the worst seasons that I can remember. It's up there with the first season after Fergie, Moyes' season. Yeah. And it's probably worse. And when I say it's probably worse, it's not just even looking at just Manchester United. It's because, granted, when...
It's your rivals,
yeah,
I think.
Well, you don't won the league that year when Moyes was there. But Liverpool...
Yeah,
they didn't win the Champions League.
Weren't good either.
So now we've got Man City's won the domestic treble.
We've won all the trophies available apart from the Champions League.
And Liverpool won that one.
Liverpool won.
So our rivals won all the trophies available.
Yeah. Worst case
and
scenario.
For me, that it makes me feel sick just been thinking about it. I have to talk about it, but I don't want to speak about it. But it's been a terrible season for us. We've had two managers, and we don't two permanent managers. That don't happen. Like Fergie was here for how many years? When Moyes got sacked, then we just had an interim gigs for the end of the season. After that, Van Gaal was at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. We had two managers in the season. This is like now we're just like the rest of the clubs. That's what other clubs do. Sack their manager in the middle of the season, get a new manager. And it makes me sick, to be honest. It makes me sick.
I think it's funny because United...
You would think it's funny.
United have turned into everything that they didn't want to be. Like, when I was growing up, it was Man United, we win. You know, we win something. Like, even if they didn't win the league, they won something. It was never trophyless seasons, you know what I mean? And if you did have a trophyless season, you were in Europe. You know, it's just like there was
I think 2005...
Yeah. We
didn't win nothing. I remember we were knocked out of the Champions League early.
Yeah.
But
there's always something which is like, well, City are shit, Liverpool are shit. There was always something that you could cling on. But I think this season is the worst because United have literally had to support City this season to make sure that Liverpool didn't win the league, because Fergie, his whole time here, basically stopped Liverpool from winning the league. That's what he did. As much as he won, didn't win.
When Fergie joined, we were 7.
Yeah, you were on 7
leagues, and they were 18.
Yeah.
And we obviously went past them to 20.
Yeah.
And it's like Fergie's gone, and every year
he's just getting worse.
They're getting closer and closer to winning.
Yeah.
We're just getting worse and worse. But yeah, so we finished obviously 6, and it's like, obviously I wanted to finish in the Champions League. Yeah. And it may have helped in terms of getting certain players.
Yeah.
For me, it's not the be all and end all, because we've signed big players even outside the Champions League anyway. So it's not the worst thing. I think
people like the Premier League at the moment. Yeah. Because you even get teams like Everton, you get decent players going there. So
West Ham, Wolves,
I think
for example.
It's the league at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's not as much about it being Man United. It's like they want to play in the
Premier League, yeah.
So Man United, they know that Man United could potentially with them get back to where they were,
and they'll get a good wage and that kind of stuff, whatever. Yeah. But getting back in the Champions League might have papered over certain cracks, which for me have been exposed because we didn't get in. Yeah. So it's a bit of a bittersweet in the sense that I want to get back in the Champions League, but maybe the best thing for us was not to get in, because to say, you know what, things are actually worse than we actually realise. Yeah. It's like, obviously, the season, Jose's first year, we finished 6th, won the Europa League, so we got back in the Champions League. So it's like, all right, we'll try and go again. Then we finished 2nd. I mean, it wasn't great football. We finished 2nd. Yeah. And then it all fell apart. So those things maybe just papering over the cracks, which are now being exposed. And getting back in the Champions League may have done that. So we just have to take it as it comes. We finished 6th. Because we were the sixth best team in the league. Simple as. Yeah. No excuses. But it's all about like the summer and what we have to do. Now, my biggest issue right now is that we haven't signed a director of football. That's the biggest issue right now. Yeah. The players is one thing.
Apparently Ed Woodward's staying.
Well, that's the thing. I think it was around January after Jose went, and there was a lot of talk about us getting a director of football. and that was kind of the priority. Yeah. And it's not that I didn't want Solskjaer to be the manager, but my issue was that if we get Solskjaer the permanent manager, and then we then get a director of football, who's to say that this director of football would, and Solskjaer is going to be on the same wavelength? Yeah. So you're kind of putting the cart before the horse. You need to get the structure in place, and then put the people to make it run. But as you said, it looked like the structure's in place. Ed Woodward ain't going nowhere. Yeah. But the man has been there since 2013, and he has failed. That's the bottom line. We've had 4 different managers now, and barring, you could say, Jose's first year, they've all been failures. But I know Van Gaal won a FA Cup, but we finished 5th that season. They've all been failures. So Ed Woodward is I'm not saying it's all his fault, everything's happened, but he's the only constant. We can't blame Moyes. We can't blame Van Gaal. We can't blame Mourinho. We can't blame...
Mourinho did say that it's not him. Well, basically, he said, I'm not the problem. I did the best, and to be honest, to finish second with Man United was so ridiculous. And it's shown the next year that, and when he said it, everyone was like, he's making excuses. I was like, damn, man was actually right. Like, I didn't even want to believe when he said it. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about, Jose? You just, we'll go again next year. You know what my favourite's been from these, like, post-Fergie has been a lot of your managers saying they aspire to be like City. Because that is just quality.
Moyes said it.
Yeah, Moyes said it. Solskjaer's come out and said something similar.
Yeah,
he said something this season. It wasn't
exactly the same, but I know what you're saying. Moyes one, for me, that was definitely the coffin. That nailing his own coffin. Because I was asked, do you beat us 3-0 at Old Trafford?
Even when we were shit, we never used to say shit like that.
I said, the thing is, I knew Moyes wasn't the right man for the job. Yeah. But the moment he said that, it just confirmed he is not the right man for the job. He had a mentality for it. Jose never said that. I never would say it. He never would say it. Jose was more about himself anyway than anything else. And I don't have an issue with Solskjaer. Like, Solskjaer knows Man United, so he even if he says something similar, it wouldn't be like what Moyes.
Yeah, it's not as straight up.
But I hear what you're saying.
But I think, like, with us, like, obviously, our club, we don't want to be like Man United because we don't see ourselves like Man United. Obviously, we want success, and Man United have had success. But it's not, we want to be... Like, I kind of like the way that we won the domestic treble that United haven't won. Because with history...
It doesn't exist.
If we went and did exactly what Man United did, all people would say is, well, United have done it, they've 20 times. Do you know what I mean? Oh, they've won the Champions League 3 times. It's always going to be compared... If we win the Champions League, everyone's going to say, yeah, you've won the Champions League, but have you won it 3 times? So then if we win it, we'd have to win it 4 times before people start saying,
or win the quadruple.
We'd have to do something completely different. So I like the fact that the history that we're creating is slightly different to the history that you've created, the history that Liverpool have created and everything like that. I like that. So even though Liverpool fans are saying you would swap the Champions League for the domestic treble, I personally wouldn't, because as much as I would like the Champions League, don't get me wrong, I want us to be making history that other people haven't made. So things like, we've got 100 points, no one's done that before, we broke pretty much all the records in terms of like goals and all that kind of amount of games won in a row and all that. I like the fact that we're breaking the history that other people haven't, and then when we win the Champions League, then we can look at
the first team to win back-to-back Premier Leagues and get relegated next season. How's that for history?
You
can do that this year.
Yeah, well, we still I think are the only team that have won the league and then got relegated the next season. I think we're the only team that have got that. But City's history.
There's your history there, isn't it? That's
we've got a lot of history. This whole we've got no history is a load of rubbish. Every team has history. Some teams' history, like Palace, I didn't know till like a few years ago that they'd never won a major trophy, because I just assumed, Palace is such a, it's such a, they're a great club.
Even Wigan's won it.
Yeah, but you look at clubs like that and you think, wow, I wouldn't have thought, you know, because I know City's history, I know United's history, Liverpool, like the big clubs, but I don't really know every team in the league's history. And when you actually look into their history, it's quite interesting. But I wouldn't say Palace have no history because they've not won a major trophy, because that is rubbish. You know, they have history. It's just not quite the same as, you know, the most successful teams, but it's still history. You know, so City's history is actually quite interesting if you ever, you know,
I know,
decide
I know,
to, you know,
I know
look
my football,
into it.
so I have looked into City's history.
But
as much as, you know, for research purposes, more than anything else. But
I think as a United fan, you kind of have to. Like, if I was a City fan,
because when you're having arguments, you need to know what you're coming with. Because listen, I've been arguing with people, and they'll drop something, and it's like, no, that's something I don't know, something that's like fake. It's not true. I'm like, have you even read it, or are you assuming that I haven't, so you can get away with saying something like that? But as I was saying, we've got a lot of work to do. That's the biggest issue for me, is that we don't have a director of football. And which for me, I'm worried about, you could say, the direction the club's going in, and it's like, I can't trust Ed Woodward. If we get a signing tomorrow, we got a signing today. Daniel James, the speed merchant, seems like that's what everyone's just talking about. How fast he can run. And I'm like, it could work. It might be fine. Who sanctioned it? Was it Solskjaer? Was it Woodward? Who is behind these decisions that I can trust? If City make a signing, even if you don't know who was the one who scouted the guy, you know that our recent history of signing players is successful. Most of them turn out to be, you know, there might be one odd one that you sell on and it didn't work out, but it's worked. Our recent signings haven't worked, so I can't trust that the same people making those decisions on the next signings are going to work, especially when it's a player that you don't really know. If you go sign Messi, for example, you know whoever, it doesn't matter, because I know how good this guy is. But it's other people, you're like, I'm just kind of hoping that it works.
And you know what it is? It's not even about how good the player is, because we've had good players. Like, look at Lukaku. Someone was saying about Lukaku today. Lukaku scores everywhere he goes.
He does.
He was
for Belgium,
brilliant for Belgium. He is brilliant for Belgium. He was brilliant for Everton. He was good for West Brom. Wherever he's been, Anderlecht, I think before that, he was, you know, he's good. He scores goals. But at United, there's just
his first season at Man United was good.
Kind of work. But even though he scores goals, it's not what he's not at the level that he should be at, or he has the quality to be at. And it's the same with Bonnie when he came to City. You know, Bonnie was scoring. He was the main man at Swansea. You know, and he was scoring. He was the top scorer the year that we bought him. You know, so he came and we didn't have. Because the whole point for me in us getting Bonnie was we had a plan B. So when it wasn't working, so David Silva and Aguero and all the small people basically, when it wasn't working, walking it in, we could just, you know, pump it over the top to Bonnie and Bonnie would put it in like Swansea did. And it just didn't work because we didn't use the plan B. Because for some reason, Pellegrini had plan A, and if that didn't work, we lost the game.
Well, actually, no, your plan B was to put Yaya behind the striker.
Well,
that was,
they had different, but what I thought, what Bonnie was bought for, didn't happen. So I think with United, what it is you are rebuilding.
But the thing is, the problem is, because we don't have a director of football, each manager comes in and they are directing, so to speak. Oh, this is how I want to play. This is the players I need. So Woodward will be like, oh, okay, you can go buy these players. Then it doesn't work, and then we get a new manager. All right, this is the direction I want to go in, and these are the players I want. So then you have to try and you have to get rid of those players and get in the new players for this guy, and you're only giving them like a year or 2 years. And
that's why you can't do that. You need a long-term manager.
But for me, it's not even a long-term manager. My long-term manager would be ideal, but you have to be successful long-term. But additionally, more importantly, you need a long-term, I would say, director of football, because this is the direction we want to go in. You are the head coach. So we hire you. These are the players. This is the style of play we want to play. This is the type of players we want. So we hire managers who fit that model, as opposed to we hire a manager and buy players to fit his model. That's not going to work. If you look at even C, which I don't like going back there.
Our structure's quite good.
But before Pep came, you put everything in place you got the guy Tixi, whatever his surname is, I can't remember, and some other guys from Barca. Put the structure in place and said, all right, Pep, come in now, because you had a direction about what you wanted to go, where you wanted to go, and what you wanted to do. We don't have that.
Well, our chairman is he knows what he wants to do. And he's very good. I'd say he's one of the best chairmen in the league.
I mean, you would.
But he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He knows what he's talking about. That City have kind of, when obviously we got bought and we were trying to get to where we are now, you have to buy players that you might not necessarily buy.
Lescott.
You have to have English players, and the English players available to us were always people that were well overpriced.
Gareth Barry, yeah. And who else did you have?
We had James Milner.
Yeah, he was good too. Fair.
Scott Sinclair, we had loads.
Was Wayne Bridge?
Wayne Bridge.
Yeah, he went from Chelsea.
We had loads. But the thing is, we've like, when we got the money,
I like that City.
You're not gonna go.
They thought they were big, and
you know what? You're not gonna go out and buy Messi when you get. Say Newcastle get bought by.
Well, you bought Rafinha.
No, but say they get bought now. Yeah. They're not gonna go to Barcelona and get Messi.
No.
It's not gonna happen. So what they're gonna have to do is obviously buy players that want to invest in the project.
If anything, they'll have to buy like the likes of, say, Zaha.
Yeah, or, people that want to kind of go, because with City, how we sold it to the players at the time was, this is a project.
Here's the cash.
No, obviously you have to throw money at people.
That's how you sold it.
You're not gonna get but you're not gonna get the best players.
No, I agree.
Without throwing money at them. And we did buy some players that really weren't good enough or whatever, or we well overpaid for them. But that's what happens until you get where we are now. Now City have got strict rules, on the wage structure and how much they're going to pay.
Well, that's why
in that City documentary, they're showing that they're interested in Van Dijk, and they're looking at him and they're saying, "Oh, he'd be perfect for City. We could fit him in here and blah blah blah." And they're talking about him, and they say in the thing, when it went past what we were willing to pay, we backed out because they had a strong. Don't get me wrong, if we'd have bought him, it would have been great, you know? I like Van Dijk.
But the thing is, the thing with that, which is why it's important, is because you say it would have been great. He would have come in, he would have been for the players, but it might have destabilised other things because then you got De Bruyne, Sterling, Aguero, who's like, I want that. Yeah. You pulled out of the Sanchez one in the end because of that. You pulled out of the Jorginho one because of that. But arguably, not even arguably, we've suffered because of that lack of structure. In the sense that we just gave Sanchez what he wanted. To get the player. And then now all the other players who are renewing contracts, the likes of De Gea, the likes of Rashford, Herrera, obviously Herrera's gone now. They're using Sanchez as a benchmark to say, well,
I think Pogba is a big one.
Well, Pogba's still got like 3 years left in contract, so he can relax. And hopefully, I want to ship Sanchez as soon as if we could get rid of Sanchez for free. Just to get rid of the wages, the money's not an issue in terms of how much you're paying him, in terms of the financial implications, but it's the dressing room implications.
That he's on more
I just want to get rid of him, and then you say, so that don't exist. The benchmark ain't Sanchez no more. The benchmark is now Pogba, who's on maybe 300,000, 250, 300. So if Pogba's on 250, for example, you can't be asking for because he's our best player. De Gea and Pogba should be our highest paid players. No one should be higher than them. But because we've got Sanchez on 500, 400, 450, whatever it is, now that's the benchmark. And I'm like, De Gea is worth being our most paid player. But he ain't worth 500,000 a week. I don't want to lose De Gea. But if we have to rein everything back in, so be it. Because the club is bigger than the individual. We've got rid of bigger and better players over, not necessarily wage structures, but in terms of how big a player thinks they are. Of course, we're in a better position. But the likes of Roy Keane, who was our captain, David Beckham, who's the biggest superstar for world football at the time. But Jaap Stam was probably the best defender in the world at the time. But for certain reasons, with manager disputes or just the player thinking they were bigger than they are, they have to get rid. And for me, I'm just like, you know what? We need to decide where we want to be as a club, what kind of principles we want to adhere to, And if the players whichever players don't fall into line with that, you have to get rid. I don't care how good they are, you have to get rid.
But let's be honest though, with wages and in terms of transfers, if everybody was on the same page, then the prices wouldn't be as they are now. If everybody was like, right, he's worth 80, because a player is worth what you value them at. If you say that Sané's worth 200 million, then that's what you think, and no one can buy him unless they give you 200 million. So that stops either the player from leaving, or it makes clubs pay way over the odds. So what people do, especially with English players, is they will say, okay, Harry Maguire worth maybe 30 mil, and then they add 50 mil onto it, and then people go and buy him for that price. And then it's like, well, if he's worth that, then how much is Van Dijk worth? And then it's like Van Dijk says, like, well, I must be worth 200 mil. And then it goes from there. And then you can't. That's how the league is.
It goes out of kilter. It's ridiculous.
And they blame City because they say, and to be fair, in the beginning when we needed to, we had to kind of throw money at players. To be fair, we still didn't spend as much as the likes of Madrid and sometimes Chelsea, and stuff like that. Even though people think that City, because we bought so many players and so many different players, on paper it adds up and we've spent a ridiculous amount of money. But individually, if you look at the players, we've had quite a lot of transfers where we haven't overspent. Like when Bernardo came in, it was like, whoa, 43 mil. Look at him now. You know what I mean? And then Van Dijk went for 75. So you think, well, Bernardo or Van Dijk, Van Dijk's older. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player, he's great. And definitely worth the 75 now. But at the time, you would have thought, well, and our club were kind of thinking, well, we just bought Bernardo Silva. We're not buying Van Dijk for nearly double. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the transfers have gone kind of crazy now, and I think it could be reined back in.
I think also what. There's those impact in terms of the smaller ones. You'll get, for example, you said John Stones. You bought for 50 million. Therefore, my defender is worth X, Y, Z. More, But I think what really threw it was the Neymar. Neymar went for 200 million, and then it just all went out. Like we got Pogba for 90, and everyone was like, "Whoa, Pogba 90 million," and then a couple of weeks later or a month later, Neymar's on 200, and it kind of. Okay, maybe 90 is not too bad. But then you got... He went for 200, so then Barca had all this money to spend. Everyone knew Barca had this money to spend. So then Coutinho is 140 million. Dembele, who ain't done... He ain't done nothing to be worth... Neither of them have done nothing to be worth what they were. Coutinho 140. Dembele 130. Obviously Mbappe then was 169 or whatever. And I'm like, these are top quality players. But this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But I think it kind of like it affects the player then, because the player has then got this price tag on their head. So what Pogba was saying actually, I think this week, he had an interview and he was basically saying that when you are worth what I'm worth, like when you go for that much money, a good game is seen as average, and a great game is seen as good. So he's like, whatever I do now, it's always going to be, if you have a good game, it's, well, you cost 90 million, of course you're supposed to have a good game, you're supposed to be doing that every week. And when he has a bad game, it's like, you wasted, you wasted that much money. So me as a player, I'd rather go cheaper. Like there's people, like we got Leroy Sané, didn't cost, like, I think 20, was it? I don't think it was.
I don't know what
40. I don't know. I think it was like 27 or something. We got him quite cheap because of his age and whatever.
Must be add-ons on there or something. I think there was add-ons that raised it to about 40 if he meets all of them. Because I think what Bayern are bidding is about double. What you. But
I think like players like that, he didn't have, when he came to City, he couldn't afford to have some bad games But if he had 90 million on his head, they'd be saying, well, Sané had a bad game. He's worth 90 million. Is he that good? So Gabriel as well. He doesn't have to play that well because we got him reasonably cheap.
But Lukaku was 75 million.
Whereas Lukaku is every game he has to, so he has to do things that Gabriel doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not compared.
Well, Gabriel's not even playing half the time.
No.
And no one bats even an eyelid.
No.
It's like, well, he's young.
Yeah.
Whereas Rashford, even though Rashford don't cost nothing, but people forget his age. And they're like, no, he needs to be doing... But that's because now he's our most important, one of our most important players because we're so crap. Whereas if Rashford was at Man City, and Gabriel was at Man United, it would be like roles reversed. It'd be like, Gabriel would basically be the Martial. He's a young, talented player. Why is he not producing? Gabriel's at Man City, and it's like people forget that the guy just plays in that FA Cup and then League Cup.
No, to be fair, he does play.
But I don't have an issue with it because the guy's young. He's come from abroad as well.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want any player to flop. I don't want him to succeed at City because I don't want City to succeed. Yeah. But I don't want him to flop. You know, I like Brazil as well. But young players and foreign players need time to adapt. Yeah. We buy Fred for 50 million from straight into obviously into the first team, and it doesn't work out straight away. Yeah. Flop, get rid, da 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 da. And I'm like, you've got to give him a year. Bernardo Silva had a year. Was on the bench all last year. Listen, what was I calling him? I was calling him all kinds of names. I was like, this guy just bench fodder. He can all that kind of, obviously as a bit of a tongue in cheek because he's a quality player. Yeah. But I was like, he's just second choice. Season started, and the guy's first choice, first name on the team sheet. Yeah. I think you got City's player of the year.
But the thing is with Pep always says that the team that he selects is based on how they play in training. So if you're in training being lazy, not playing, you've got a bad attitude, everything like that, you won't start.
But when you've got David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, you can afford to not start Bernardo Silva. Yeah. Whereas if you go to the other clubs, it's like Liverpool for example, they've pretty much got an 11, give or take. Yeah. Now because they've strengthened their midfield. If so and so's not training good, like say Mane doesn't train well. Who's he going to play? Solanke?
Yeah, he's still going to get
he has to start, isn't it?
But that's the thing with City, that's what we've created. We've created a team where we've got players who are good enough quality that if Aguero's having a tantrum in training, you can say, you know what, you can go on the bench because we know we'll get goals with or without him. Obviously, he's our main striker and he's one of our best players, but Pep can afford to say, right, okay, you haven't played well or you've got a bad attitude, get on the bench. And I've heard from I don't know if it's true, but from kind of Germany sources and sort of City sources as well, that Sané has a bit of a bad attitude. And I don't know whether it's true.
Yeah, we heard that at the beginning of the season.
But yeah, there's a lot that's coming out and it's too much for it to be a coincidence because Germany, he doesn't always start. And they say it's about his attitude because he got left out the World Cup squad. And then Pep plays him, sometimes, but he
doesn't really start him in the big games.
And it's and he's so good. So it's there's obviously something there. It's either he's not doing what he needs to do in training, or the attitude. There's an attitude problem. I don't know what it is, but nobody's really coming out and saying we love Sané, we want him to stay. He's one of us, and he's not coming out saying I love City, I want to stay. This is my club. So I don't quite know what's going on there, and I'm sure we'll find out.
In one word, do you think Sané will be a Man City player next season? Yes or no?
Well, I've heard that he won't be.
One word, One word.
Yeah, yes, I've heard that he won't be, but I'm hoping that he will stay because from what I've heard, it's his girlfriend and his dad. So his dad wants him to leave, his girlfriend wants him to stay. So if his girlfriend wants him to stay, I think he'll probably stay.
But we know women know nothing about football.
No.
Oh, wait.
Exactly. Well, she probably doesn't, to be fair. She probably doesn't. But, I think with him, if he wants to stay, let him stay. If he wants to go, let him go. We don't need him as such. We want him because he's a great player. He's young. He's got talent. But if he does leave, we need to demand a ridiculous fee because when it's the other way around and we want a player from them, they're going to slam on 50 million more than they would normally get. So we need to put a ridiculous price tag on. So if he does go, then at least we can either reinvest it or think, you know what, he went, but we got 100 mil or whatever, So he definitely minimum 100 mil for him.
Guys, this has been Shots Fired. Me, Neeks, and Yannicka. Next time she'll be in a Man City kit, maybe not.
Representing Jamaica for the World Cup.
Leave your comments below on everything we discussed, and we'll be back with you